right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Tom.
All right. Again, I'm going to try to do my best to explain a little bit about what CO2 is and is not. It's clearly not causing global warming. It's not from just belief and conviction and so on and so forth. It's true scientific evidence. In case that you want to follow up and learn a whole lot more about what I do, please come to the website, www.ceresseries-science.com. Indeed, all view expressed are strictly my own, but it should be yours too. Let's start with this slide. Using PowerPoint causes global warming.
So it was really interesting to me when I started this, is that you applauded PowerPoint, because most people hate PowerPoint, and this is why. This is why people hate PowerPoint. This is the number of PowerPoint patients per day from 2015, this is a real chart, to 2023. Look, there are 23 million per day in 2015. It's risen exponentially, 88 million per day in 2023. Look at that. Look, then I found this chart. That's the average global temperature, the average ocean level. That same period of time. Coincidence? I believe PowerPoint is causing the global warming. I do.
That's right. Well, learn one thing. The first thing in science is that correlation doesn't mean causation, yes? That's a very important lesson for all kids to know, especially the adult. Guys like Al Gore, they never learn. So that's what it is. It's a chart. It's coincidence, obviously. There's no way that using PowerPoint going to cause global temperature to change, right? Anyway, we'll get into a bit of science, but not much science, because ultimately it's all in the written word. So look up our papers and articles and things like that you talk about things like this. So should we stop the presentation right now to save the planet? I don't think it's a good idea. Maybe I'll just go home now. Goodbye, guys. Goodbye. All right, camp news update. Since I've been here for some 7 or 8 years, so I wanted to just introduce to some of the newcomers and the old friends. This is what our camp is all about. You all know this particular flag is called Make America Godly Again. That's hanging in Reverend Kraft's home, yes? And then we have another update, which is the short-lived. Nathaniel short-lived just got married this year. And then, of course, we can see our camp chaplain is there, Reverend Kraft. Thank you all for doing this. And then we got our little friend here, Marley Newman. Marley Newman is going to be the rising star for America. I'm sure of that. You can see the kind of guy he hang out with, right? And of course, you all know about Alex Newman, yes? One of the great patriots and a good friend. Anyway, indeed, we are in some bit of a trouble. This is actually a direct quote from one of my friends who teach at one of the major universities in America. I should not name it, but it's in Missouri somewhere. It's really sad that in his Meteorology 101 class, one of these students say things like this. Rain will turn to snow when it emits CO2, a greenhouse gas. So it just doesn't even make sense, right? That's what it is. So please, homeschool, that's the solution. And then a bit of update is that, as many of you know, some of you came because of this particular incident. It's really truly a God blessing. I can't even speak English, but Tucker Carlson apparently invited me, and I was there at one of his cabin place to be interviewed by him. Of course, I actually have Tucker's phone, so I know what his phone is like. So, but the main thing I want to say is I was able to pass on the camp, the brochure, to try to say that, okay, this year, please come, Tucker, we invited you. He actually did sincerely say that he will come, but unfortunately, as we know that our nation need a lot more help from great journalists like him, so they're all at Milwaukee, right, at the GOP convention, we all know that. So indeed, it's been very, very lucky. So a lot of the shots, this has been gaining a lot of view. So whatever we can do to help the camp, that's what I'm here for, right? And then in the discussion, of course, we even talk about God, yes? Like I'm saying that I apparently can see God in mathematical equation. In some sense, it's quite true if you think a bit deeper about all this. Somebody has to arrange for this thing. It's just too beautiful, too amazing, too incredible. If you think about statistics, the odd is just zero. There's no such chance if there's no creator. Right. So in that sense, I hope that everybody can understand, because some people say that all I can hear is bing bong ching chong. So it's a bit funny, but anyway, Tucker is such a great guy. I enjoyed the interview. To tell you the truth, nothing was prearranged or pre-scripted, you know. Like I say, if I don't have my, where's my teleprompter? If I don't, I'm not going to quit talking, right? Anyway, it's also fun that in some sense, I've been in the science of climate change for many, many years. Some 32, 33 years now. This is just maybe not so, I simply want to show the example to some of the school kids here. If you study really hard, I am actually just the average student like all of you, of course, but I'm above D average, of course. The average D student are guys like Al Gore, John Kerry, all those people. But I'm a little bit above D, but you know, to be recognized. If you guys want to know anything about mathematics, you should study this particular person, Grigori Perelman. He solved one of the oldest mathematical puzzle of all the puzzle. I mean, almost, well, Poincaré conjecture, if you look it up, it's almost 100 years and no one knows even how to do and approach a problem. But through dedication and hard work. Another important thing about this particular person is that he rejected all these honors. People want to give him $1 million award, this and that. He said, no, it's going to corrupt the science. It's going to corrupt mathematics. So he rejected all of that. In that sense, this guy is a bit of my hero, yes? To think clearly and then to do the best you can. To fulfill the duty, of course, to worship God. Life is really good if you look in terms of history. Don't worry about this graph. It's basically showing you that the share of people that are living in extreme poverty, you can give some definition, probably is like average of $10 per month or something, like, you know what I mean? So it's no more than $1,000 a year income. But indeed, over all continents, everything is decreasing. And yet these folks, this pseudo-religion called environmentalism is really ruining everybody's life in some sense, right? Everything is dark to them. They somehow worship the Satan and devil. They cause CO2. This is CO2, by the way. You are breathing out CO2 in high concentration. If you want to know the amount, it's about 4% of the volume. Yeah? So that's about 40,000 parts per million. The air outside is roughly 400, right? So you have a factor of 100 there to explain the difference. But in any case, CO2 is gas of life. Do not ever let them tell you otherwise, right? That's the reason why I wear this t-shirt with conviction, really, that I love CO2. But anyway, from all aspects of it, everything has been going down. Oh, by the way, I didn't even choose the title of this talk. It was given by Hal Shutliff. I just follow what he said. He tell me, okay, you talk about this. Okay, fine. So, yeah, we want to talk a bit about all the forecasts. Yes, the forecast is very extensive. These people are gloom and doom in a sense that it's anti-scientific. It's been proven. You know, science is about what you call hypothesis making, and then you try to look in the real world evidence. Right? Whether you accept or reject this hypothesis. Most of the time you cannot say that you accept. Actually, it's more or less like, how can you reject this? Is there any single evidence? Right? It doesn't matter 1 million people or even 1,000 people agree with some notion of this and that. It's about where the evidence is. Right? So you have to look through the real world data, through the method of inquiry introduced by science. Science...
The world is flat, isn't it?
Well, we can test that, right? You can propose that proposition, but you can go about testing it, yes? So that's another method. So it is, the model all failed for a very long time, by the way. So this is one of the first example. Just notice the date. The UN predict disaster if global warming not checked. They are basically talking about the world rising ocean because warming the ocean will melt the ice sheets, this and that, by the way, right? That's the idea. And then, of course, there's an effect called thermal expansion. If you warm the water, the volume tends to increase a little bit. But that number is just not quite detectable. It's a very difficult measurement, by the way. But as you can see, the prediction is 1989. Please. I mean, obviously, we're still here, yes? And then this one, you don't read the chart, but I just simply want to show you that there are somebody who have been studying and start listing some hundreds of those claims. This and that, right? The polar bear all dying off, you know, the Amazon will be completely deforested, you know, this and that. But none of them came true. So in terms of number, there are like, you know, 48-0. And then there are a total of 79 claims in this particular study. But the other 31 is just simply the time is not expired yet. I can assure you, you wait till whatever time they say, 2026, 2027, or 2030, 2050, we'll be here to have a look. It's all going to be wrong. Because you know why? The basis in which that make the prediction It's all based on lies. That's the problem. That's the deepest part of it. Yes, we have a moral crisis, not a scientific crisis in a sense. This is the kind of problem that I find it very troublesome. Constantly being manipulated by all this really egotistical and really strange pseudo-religious belief. So, don't you believe in science? I mean, here's some of the example of people that believe in science.
We have, according to the best scientists in the world, we have 12 years. What they're telling us is if we don't get our act together in the next 7 or 8 years, is that the scientists are telling us that if we don't act incredibly boldly within the next 6, 7 years,
or confronting climate change before it is too late within the 10 years that we have left to us.
The world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. How dare you?
You know that movie, The Day After Tomorrow? It's today.
You have stolen my dreams.
science tells us we have 9 years.
Reverend Biden, yeah.
There will be no future for the Bronx. There will be no livable future for generations.
This is a climate damn emergency.
Iowa, Nebraska.
This guy, he thinks he's a rapper, right?
Swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now.
It's a hand gesture thing.
Underwater. Farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back.
We are talking about severe droughts which will prevent farmers in the Midwest from going to food that we need. We're talking about extreme weather disturbances.
The science is clear.
What this moment is about, Joe, is that the scientists are telling us they underestimated the severity of the crisis.
In the 10 years that we have left to us, as the science and scientists tell us,
as the answer, we need other industries to transition to get to ultimately a complete zero emissions by 2025.
We need to cut global emissions
Oh, the famous average D
by
student.
2030.
Very famous.
It's not a question of re-entering the Paris Accord. That's fine. Who cares? And it's been...
I think that's enough. Save my time. Well, you trust the science, don't you? Y'all know that Olympics, International Olympics, is going to be held in Paris, right? Next month. They won't allow people, all this, they work for years and decades to try to make it to the Olympics team. They want to be at their peak performance, isn't it? They won't allow you to use air condition, right? It's really hot in Paris. In fact, that phenomenon is called urban heat island effect. Again, look up our webpage, and my son Ben already done one very nice video on this from the perspective, I guess, younger people like yourself to understand. But by the way, it's based on very strict science because we have published scientific papers to explain all this phenomenon, yes? So it's a very interesting way to look at these things. Well, when you fail prediction, what do? You keep making prediction. That's the secret. This is one of the prediction, Arctic sea ice will melt, right? 2009. You can see, 2024, they say the same thing. It never changed. I will show you a very drastic example. But what are the facts? The fact is, if you compare the two curves, 2024 data so far obviously had a lot more sea ice than 2006. This is the kind of problem that is easily checked. I mean, guys, AP reporter, all these people get paid very big time. All you need to do a little internet, that's the facts. So why can't they do that, right? It's simple, because they're all trying to manipulate everybody's mind, and including their own, by the way. They're all, essentially, to me, they're really anti-God, kind of insane people, very bad. You know, we do have to show some kindness, by the way. I really think that I'm doing this not to just poke into their eyes and things like that. These folks are just lost. Totally lost. Maybe they'll find redemption, yes? That's all I'm hopeful for. Yeah, these are all the cast of character, right? From 2000, well, there are 2040 people who make forecasts. The world will end by that date. Greta Thunberg date is pretty near, 2028. It's only 4 more years. We'll wait, you know, come on, Greta. We'll wait for you, right? So whether all this ending stuff will come true. Many of the predictions, really a lot of examples. All you need to do is just click here and there, you will be able to find all of this. Here's another example. This is in Massachusetts. They always will give something very strong narrative. Like you say, when there's a storm, they will focus on that one little angle. It's so bad. Oh, it's washing away beach home. It must be global warming, right? Ain't so. Because if you find in history, I mean, these are stuff coming from 100 years ago, newspaper. It's always been that way. It's always been that way. Like I said, the temperature of the Earth, planet Earth, no one knows what is the best average temperature. You should tune the carbon dioxide. Their idea is this: we emit carbon dioxide, Carbon dioxide stay in the atmosphere, it creates this so-called greenhouse effect. Then you warm the whole globe. Then the idea is that if we can remove the carbon dioxide in the air, then the temperature will cool. But the problem is, where is the level of this? Plus, I want to tell you, you don't ever give them an inch on this. Even if you cause global warming, CO2 is still good for plants, for life in general. In the ocean, in the land, anywhere you can find, caveman, all these things, you find all of them is very beneficial overall. There's no such thing as everything is just 100% good. There are always positive, negative, but you weigh the evidence and the balance, yes? It's overall very positive things. And don't let them give you the, oh, here's a famous one. I want to say this because there's a plenty of example to talk about no more glaciers. The idea is that you warm, so therefore all the glacier melted away, yes? It's true, glacier has been melting, by the way. But it's melted long ago. There's a phenomenon called Little Ice Age. It's a period, right? 1,000 years ago, there's a time period called medieval warm period. Then it descended into a period called Little Ice Age. By the way, I studied that very hard for 30 years. We think that that phenomenon is because the sun is brighter and then it's dimmer, right? So less sunlight energy received by the earth, and then it really built the ice. So the period called Little Ice Age. The real Ice Age is 21,000 years ago, right? 21,000 years ago, we have 2 miles thick of ice here, right? This is the Little Ice Age where all the glaciers grow in the Alps, anywhere you find it. In Greenland, in Southern Hemisphere, you see all of it. In New Zealand Alps, all these things in the mountain of Venezuela, many places. Little Ice Age was a real phenomenon. That they say, yeah, it will be gone by 2020. Unfortunately, everybody can check, right? You can go to Glacier National Park. So it's still a lot of ice. So when you fail, what do? You notice this prediction came in, predict that the Glacier National Park no more by 1948. That was happened during the 1930s when the period was very warm. You all have heard about Steinbeck, right? About the book Great Wrath and all that. Those are the times describing the 1930s or 40s being very, very warm and caused a lot of droughts and things like that. Here's one example. Another one, this is the one that predicted in 1923. It'll be gone by 25 years in 1948. Obviously, the glacier is still there. Here's another one that says that no more glacier by 1961. This was a prediction that made, some years ago, and then, 1936. Another one. This is another one that the glacier disappeared predicted in 1952, but it's been gone by 2002. It's been still sitting there. More example. Now they issue another one, New York Times. All the news that fit to print, but that is a really disaster newspaper, I still read them, by the way, to learn English, right? Since I'm Ching Chong Bing Bang so much here, so I need to read that. Here's the example. 1994, you can see it's slightly less ice than the 2020, actually. By the way, we are here in what? Plainfield, Massachusetts. Look at this one. New Hampshire, total snowfall. By the way, if the global warming is real, you're not supposed to have a lot more snow, okay? They say that you're supposed to have all the snow, and children of the future would not know what snow is. So sad, but it's not true. I mean, Plainfield this year broke the record, 32 inches. So it's right here. That was a thing that we saw in 2024 in March. So now a little bit of science. Don't get scared by all these words. The idea that what is a climate, what is a weather, is not very precise in scientific understanding, really. We don't know how does weather turn into climate. The idea is that, in general, I just give you the way they talk about this. Climate is the average. They say it's the 30-year average of all the weathers. Okay? Sounds very naive, very simple. But in exact detail, if you look into this, it ain't so. Why 30 years? That's a World Meteorological Organization, by the way, right? The sister organization of the World Health Organization, right? You all heard about this. In COVID-19, we learned enough about how bad those institutions are. But World Meteorological Organization is not good either. They're terrible, actually. So, to learn climate, you need to know astronomy, which is basically studying solar physics, geology, geochronology, geochemistry, sedimentology, tectonic, paleontology, paleoecology, glaciology, climatology, meteorology, oceanography, ecology, archaeology, and history. A whole lot more that I couldn't list here. This is a serious area of study. By the way, that's the reason why my passion is to study climate. I was invited into the problem, really. People say, oh, you're going to be a postdoc at Harvard, so you're supposed to study. I say, okay, I studied that. It's fine. And then I ended up enjoying myself, learn a whole lot more. It's a complex subject. But the problem in all this UN and Biden's administration, all this, they turn this thing into a cartoon. Science is not a cartoon. Science is very serious. It's about measurement, data, and all that stuff. They make everything so confusing in the sense that they make very simplistic statement, right? You can see all this high-profile politician, right? Bernie Sanders is #1 top climate science expert. Here's another one. Here's Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana talking to this kid named Gus Schumacher. And he's a skier. Supposedly he's some kind of Olympic skier.
Mr. Schumacher, welcome.
Welcome.
You were, who invited you here today?
I came with Protect Our Winters.
Right. But you're here on behalf of the Democrats or the Republicans?
I'm here on behalf of the outdoor enthusiasts around America.
Okay. You were contacted by Senator Whitehouse's staff?
I personally came with Protect Our Winters, so I don't know how that went.
Okay.
Exactly.
Winter doesn't need protecting, by the way.
What is carbon dioxide?
What is carbon dioxide? I'm not
I went
scientist.
to high school, but that's carbon dioxide is a gas.
Very good.
Okay.
I'm not a professional to talk about carbon dioxide. So
You don't need to be a professional to talk about carbon dioxide.
It, right?
No, there's always going to be carbon dioxide.
Right. So what is it you want us to do? Let me back up, because I mean, you're here as an expert. Tell me more about what carbon dioxide is.
I'm here as an expert cross-country skier who sees the changes in my winters and the landscape that I live in Alaska. And so carbon dioxide is, what I see it as is, it's a gas that exists in our atmosphere. And
is it the major part of our atmosphere? Or?
It's a huge part of our atmosphere, yes.
It's actually a very small part of our atmosphere.
Well, okay. But, I don't know.
Well, I already explained to you that you take a volume of gas, you can try to estimate how much and calculate how much the carbon dioxide molecules is in there, yes? Most of the air, you all know what it is, right? It's nitrogen and oxygen, yes? The rest of it is just minor gases, right? Trace amount. Even argon is less than 1%, right? But carbon dioxide is 0.04%, yes? If you want to think about how much it is, just imagine this Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl is in California, Pasadena. Football game, right? You go to one of those games. I actually been to Rose Bowl many times. So we watch football game there. If you think about carbon dioxide, the number is important. Look at this gas guy. He's saying it's major part. He didn't know how much percent. It's 0.04%. It's just not a significant numbers. But it's equivalent to over 1 decade. Remember, what is the decade? 10 years. So you need to increase two people in the Rose Bowl in 10 years. Somebody randomly just walk into Rose Bowl, 2 of them, right? And that's how scary this thing is. If you think about numbers, these people doesn't know numbers. That's why they are average D student. I mean, sometimes they should get an F from me. But what is climate, right? We're going to now quickly go over what it means. There is a bit of science, but please learn as much as you can, or else you cannot talk normally. Even joking with all this, it doesn't help. You really need to understand a little bit of the basic science so you can talk to them. Yes? The best way to do this is to go by number. If you think about it, there is no energy source in the planet Earth. All the energy comes from the sun. There's a number, a power, you can measure something called power, yes? You can measure this in the 4 times 10 to the 26. I hope you all know scientific notation. 10 to the power 26 is a lot of zero, right? 26 zero behind it. And then the energy power from the sun is actually 2 billion times stronger than planet Earth. Even that energy, 2 times 10 to the 17, is just converted energy that was given to the sun, by the sun. That's how the ocean move, the circulation move, the air move. It doesn't do that by accident, right? And then the real measurement is, like I mentioned, it's already, the Earth energy is from radioactivity decay, right? From radon, from all kinds of things. It's 2 times 10 to the 13, so it's really very, very, no energy at all. I already challenged Al Gore, if CO2 is so powerful, please breathe very hard near the glaciers. Show me how Greenland melts. It's not possible. That's how bad these kids are. These people are really bad. And then let me put it in context. By the way, there's a way to put numbers is very important. So let's ask the question, how much does the CO2 in the sense that contribute to certain number? There is a number here. That number is 10 to the, oh sorry, there's a minus sign here. Sorry, that's from positive. 10 to the 26 to the CO2 is 10 to the minus 22 watts. You all know the number, right? Order of magnitude. Now you got really a lot of zero. You got about 48 zeros behind these numbers. That's how small this tiny effective is. Of course, there's a lot of molecules in the air. You multiply the number, it doesn't make a lot of things too. So it's a very weak kind of force in that sense. In actual number, you can compare that with the sun, by the way. So this is measure the sun total energy coming into the Earth system over 1 year from January to December. And then if you think about the CO2 added, it's that tiny little amount, okay? The human part of it. So it's very, very small. Right, the thing called greenhouse effect. Actually, I don't like the terms at all, but I have to give you the textbook example. We're working very hard to try to explain what this greenhouse effect is about. Through physics, through study of chemistry, all kinds of things. There are a lot of work to be done. I think my group, and with blessing of my two colleagues from Ireland, Dr. Ronan and Michael Connolly, we are really working on the cutting edge frontiers with no funding. Okay, that's the beauty of this thing. It's the blessing of God again. Hallelujah. Anyway, CO2 is not satanic gas, okay? If you talk about greenhouse effect, you all know what you should study. You should study water vapor. We are hydrosphere. Water in vapor form, in ice, in snow, and liquid form. We are water planet, basically. If you really want to learn greenhouse effect, that's basically what it is. And then I want to show you this. The energy, see, in the Earth system is very complex, as already Dave Kopech has explained to you. It's so complicated. Never mind the ecology and all kinds of things. If you study all the flow of energy from all the different components of the system, starting from temperature, absorbed sunlight, outgoing radiation, blah, 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 blah. But if I keep clicking, looking for CO2 and H2O, you can see all the blue stuff is related to H2O. And the red one is the CO2, obviously. There's one red one somewhere. It's coming up. Come on, where is it? Yeah, right there.
So we should get rid of the water?
Yeah, I know. Maybe they want to ban water. I don't know. It's a problem, actually. And they always do things like this, by the way. They always show picture like this. And sadly, they even make something they call enhance the image. They make the thing a bit darker so make you scared, you know? They actually Photoshop. A lot of this example is shown in all the major newspapers. New York Times, AP News. They are so amazing the way that they want to manipulate. But the short answer is this. There is a close relation between water vapor and temperature. The top graph is actually the temperature of the planet, of the system. You measure from the surface to the atmosphere, right? So it's basically zero near surface to about 20 kilometers up. Okay, sorry I use kilometer because that's the plot is at. And then the latitude going from basically North Pole to South Pole, minus 90, that, right? Showing you the distribution. It's warm at the bottom, which is red, and then green, and then blue, yes? And then if you study the distribution of water vapor, look at it, how close they are related, right? And then if you look at this, the red curve is actually the water vapor content in the atmosphere. So we have a satellite ability to measure the total amount of water vapor in the system. And then you measure the temperature, which is the blue curve. It kind of fit. You got to tell Al Gore it does fit. Right? So there's a close relationship. And then you ask the question of how good is the CO2? And then this is the part that happened. If you measure this greenhouse effect, so you can quantify some numbers, okay? You see from 1980, it actually does increase. But from the 1990s or so, since about now, it's been flattening. If the carbon dioxide keep coming up, if they are controlling the planet system, you would expect this curve to keep going up. But it's been flat for a long time. This is science. Actually, by this particular chart itself, by the way, these are all scientific publications, right? So you got to read the details, how good are the data, so on and so forth. These are high quality work, by the way. So it shows that essentially there's no CO2 greenhouse effect in the system. We can see it. Most of it is related, this phenomenon is related to water vapor and cloud. As I say in the red sentence there, it's flattened. So why don't we just cut CO2 emission? That's what they always say, just in case, right? I say, no. Remember, it's this t-shirt that's going to tell you the story. And of course, we have a lot of famous jet setter. This is actually Elizabeth Warren. It's a disgrace to Massachusetts, yes? Let's watch the video. these are the people that tell you to take bus, right? From Boston to Tennessee. El Gore, where are you, El Gore? I think you better take bus yourself. I'll be watching. And those guys are flying first class, private jet. This is people. Well, this is the idea. That's why the idea of even taxing the air is really incredibly bad. You all may know that in Victorian time, right, that actually people are not allowed to have windows because there's such a thing as window tax. Okay, please look up history. This is real stuff. And you can see from even Charles Dickens have said that the adage, free air, has become obsolete by act of the parliament. With just one stroke of law. This is actually, like I say, remember, those are all fake human law. It's God's law that we need to obey, not this kind of law, really. Neither air nor light has been free since the imposition of the window tax. That's a real quote from Charles Dickens himself. So we say carbon dioxide is gas of life. Please, this is one of the group that some of my friends are affiliated with. By the way, I don't like to affiliate with too many people, so these are all my colleagues and friends. They put up advertisement like that on the freeway in Pennsylvania. Yeah, here's the actual picture. Why is CO2 a food plant for food? Food for plants. You look, if you even at 461 parts per million, it's a bit starvation, as I explained to you. This is the actual proof. You know, in science, there's a thing called experiment. You have a hypothesis, you make the experiment. You can do this. Please, go do it yourself. You just be careful. You really want to have more carbon dioxide, don't you think? So, by the way, there is a level in which that our planetary system is going to suffer. This is during the Ice Age time when you reach about 200 parts per million. Essentially, there will be no system alive because the planet is all going to die off, really, in that sense. First of all, you have too much ice also, so it's not so easy to grow any vegetation. So geological history, over 500 million years. In this chart, it's about 420 million years. So the past is on your left, the right is now. We are in a CO2 famine. The planet doesn't have enough carbon dioxide. And these people say they want to cut down carbon dioxide. To do what exactly? To kill the planet and kill us all? Yeah, probably. We have to start not trying to be too aggressive. They are so lawless and anti-God, anti-science that you have to push back. They are wrong on facts. They have no argument. It's all their mental problem, actually. This is another way to look at this. We are in CO2 starvation state. In the past, the Cambrian, you all know, is the explosion where we see the mammals and started to grow. It's also oxygenation of the atmosphere, that oxygen started to appear in the climate system, Earth system. This is now one more surprising fact that not often talked about. I mentioned in my interview with David Kopach. For already 10 years or so, the carbon dioxide emission, this is the part where we burn, we use fossil fuel, we use the oil, we use natural gas, we use coal, yes? We burn that, the CO2 got released, and it should keep increasing. The world didn't stop, remember, but it's been flat for decades. Then you ask yourself, does the carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere flat or decrease and things like that? It doesn't. This shows you that it's not all man-made. They are really giving you a lot of wrong idea, right? US. This is the number from US. From 1970 to about now. It's been decreasing by 18%. That's what I told David Kopach. When I talk about those in words, there are data to support that. It's very important to have data. You cannot just randomly say things, right? This is the fact. So think about it. They want you to cut even more. They actually say that we should be cutting down to about 30 or 40%. Furthermore, another 12%, not much actually. But to do what exactly? Right? To let China sell us everything? I mean, it's not going to viable. China keep increasing, by the way. They just burn all the coal they want. They buy out all the resources. We don't even want to use nuclear power, which is a good thing to use. That's a terrible. US is in chaos. We don't even have engineers to build those nuclear power plants. The number one, the cheapest cost now is South Korea. Right? Because they are thinking straight in that sense. And UK, well, the land of Charles Dickens, by minus 53%, and these people still want to cut down. Really terrible. You have a little bit of a headache, you say that, okay, I'm going to chop my arm, I'm going to chop this one, I chop here. And you say, I'm going to do something. Well, CO2 is still rising up. I put all the red things here. It's basically all the United Nations so-called Conference of Party meeting. Okay? From all the way up to Dubai. Okay, I'm being rushed now, so I'm going to try to finish up. Please give me a few more minutes. This is what it is. We need a lot of CO2. This is what happened in a greenhouse, the real greenhouse, where we try to grow vegetation. We want to have more CO2 for sure. Another experimental verification. And here's the latest result. By the way, I really encourage you to take the slide and talk to your neighbors and things like that. Everything is available, right? It's open literature, open science. The planet has been greener. This is the latest data from satellite measurement. Yeah, we have some information. So it's been keep getting greener and greener. And if you look in details, in places like India and China, dark green means it's a lot more greener than it was 10 years ago. For example, look at that, it's getting greener and greener. China, you have places like this. There's a famous region in western China, Loess Plateau. Look at that, 1995 and today, it's getting greener. We cannot just talk, okay? And places like this, it's beautiful actually. Green is better. I kind of prefer this to be like this. It's also, those are basically also new to man, it's true. Men are changing landscape. We're doing a lot of things to our system, right? But the system actually kind of want to restore to this particular natural condition. India is the best example because huge population, they already surpassed China in terms of the number of population, right? But they need to grow more food. We need to provide for the people. And then if you look at US data, the yield of corn keep increasing. And those are related to two factors. One obviously is related to the air concentration of carbon dioxide. But another one is, of course, a bit of technology, right? And using fertilizer. Now they're trying to destroy the whole agricultural sector, right? In Holland is the worst one. Holland is the tiny little nation. They produce so much food, so efficient, and now they want to use control. Nitrogen. Nitrogen is one of those fertilizers. They're trying to use regulation to control things again. Terrible. They really tell you that you should just go to supermarket and get your vegetable. Everything is grown in the supermarket. Please remember, you don't need no soil, you don't need no nothing. It's everything from the supermarket. That's how it works. Terrible, these people. It is. One of the signs is that basically when you have more carbon dioxide, there's a thing called stomata, this tiny little pore behind the plants. If you look very carefully under microscope, you can see that when you have more carbon dioxide, the whole size reduces. So you loses even less water. Okay? So another effect of positive carbon dioxide is that the plant uses the water more efficiently. This is why if you look at the map of this greenness, most of the margin, the desert area, very dry, right? It gets greener and greener. The size of desert reduces. We have data to show those things. This is a positive thing. I don't know. These people like to eat sand, I guess. Not us. We want to eat vegetable. So remember, CO2 is a gas of life. In terms of climate change, it's just a bit player. It does nothing, essentially. It's really, for a long time, I give them benefit of the doubt. In science, you test the hypothesis, you measure them, right? So the CO2 climate control knob is really an illusion, okay? If they really think it's like a thermometer, you can adjust up and down, and then it's really not so. So remember, whatever they tell you, remember to push that as CO2 is a gas of life. So I'll end with this, exactly what I say. I love CO2. Too bad, Al Gore. Thank you.